Hello YouTube. Welcome back everyone. Today we'll be shifting the format again and taking a look at an entire artist's work. Though he no longer works on Kenshi due to his own life circumstances, his mods live on the workshop and are worth highlighting in their entirety. Side note, do you know how stupidly insane Minecraft modding is? This mod review would be like, what's up guys, it's your boy Atlas, and today we're looking at an armor mod for version 1.0.55. That's right, it's also exclusive to Forge. You can only find this on Forge. Short of some very old mods, Kenshi Modding is very lucky. Anyways, just a funny side tangent I was thinking of while writing the script. As I was saying, we'll be highlighting an artist today instead of a singular mod. Most of his mods are exploratory and on the small side, so that means we can cover his whole workshop for Kenshi with exception to some of his beta overhaul mods, which, while fun for some, are wholly incomplete. But I will give them honorable mentions as we wrap this episode to a close. As always, I'll discuss the mod itself and any ideas I have for Genesis. As always, the video footage in the background will be a smaller playtest session of me playing with and through the mods with some other gear thrown in. You'll see some stat overlays where needed and where necessary. Otherwise, most overhauls and title cards for each section will be art that Acord himself has made. He's actually a rather talented artist. Legend says such a weapon was wielded by Karl himself. It fell in and then out of style as the Sheaths found more primitive weapons suited to their power. Such a long, sturdy blade can also be used to charge animals, much like spearmen. The bear blade is a heavy and hefty Hi-Ker class weapon. Longer than most vanilla weapons of a similar caliber, the weapon does do 50% more damage to animals and 25% more to unarmored humans. This includes hivers and Sheaths. It, however, like many blunt-style weapons, has heavy negatives to armor penetration. In this case, it loses 90% damage to heavy armor. Bear in mind, this calculation is not as pure and as simple as that, so the stats that I am telling you now, and the stats that I will be telling you throughout this review and overlook, are only the base FCS stats. These stats are not necessarily reflective of what you will get at lower grades or higher grades. This weapon can be found in the following variations in-game: Khotun Scrapmasters, Skeleton Smiths, and Edgewalkers. It has not been added to any other manufacturers. You can find the blueprints in Sheaths armories and shops occasionally, and alongside many hundred guardians. You can also find the blueprint as a possible spawn alongside Catlawn and in the scrap house. Given that Edgewalker is artifact grade, one can also possibly find this weapon as a spawn in most ruins. The sword can be crafted at tech level 2 with a blueprint, which can be found on Ghost guaranteed, or in some stores as mentioned previously. The Bear Blade in Genesis has been relegated to a secondary role for the Sheaths. With slight modifications to make it slightly heavier, the blade can be found at a lower spawn rate on the Sheaths 100 Guardians and a slightly higher rate on the Sheaths Warriors. I love the weapon style and what it's going for, and decided to attach it to the idea of the Sheaths as if they once had a larger purpose beyond just warriors. Made from hides of animals butchered by the nomads and collected along their travels, this cape is an example of craftsmanship grown from experience rather than technological progress. The Wheatstraw Cape is an example of a niche filled in armor. Originally designed for the belt slot, at the time the modding community was still getting its legs, so a little too late this mod had to be edited to include an armor slot variant to ensure that NPCs could wear this as well. Just recently, with Kenshi version 1.0.62 Plus version of Kenshi, belt slots were made fully usable by NPCs. An incredible simple addition, this mod simply adds some extra thematic rain gear to the game for the curious traveler and the nomad lifestyle. The only variation bonus you need to know about this armor is that it prevents 10% of acid damage. There's also a secondary piece to the set in which you have a hat. The hat provides 20% acid protection as well, and thus the total set can be combined for a total of 30% acid protection. This obviously doesn't include other armors. When it comes to crafting one of these sets, you can find this in the clothing manufacturer technology research at Tech Level 1. If it doesn't appear, a simple import should rectify that issue. You can craft this with cloth in the clothing bench. To make a solid note here, this armor is mostly meant to fill a small niche of coverings rather than straight up armor. Something I want to focus on in Genesis is faction-based aesthetics. Even the citizens should feel unique, whereas the guards, travelers, wanderers, and nobles should all feel unique as well. Luckily, thanks to 1.0.64 being worked on slowly by the devs, i.e. Lo-Fi, this means that I'll be able to expand belt slot items that are held by NPCs, meaning that much of what a faction can wear will be expanded and really give many of these minor factions the ability to use some of these items mentioned today a real identity. Whereas the name of the Wheatstraw Cape is misleading, the Nomad Cape is as well. The name of the Nomad Cape stems from the idea of nomads rather than of the nomadic people and faction. A quick stripped down, hastily sewn together variant of the Wheatstraw Capes, this is sold instead by adventurers who need extra weather protection. The Nomad Cape, much like the Wheatstraw Cape, is an aesthetic choice for many players. Coming in variations of black, blue, and white, players will find this mod's story much the same as the previous. Made alongside the Wheatstraw Cape, Acord made a cloth-like variant to suit a wanderer's feel in a sword-punk game like Kenshi. The Nomad Cape can be researched through Blueprint at level 1. The Blueprint can be found at most clothing stores in-game, the United Cities, Mongrel, and Holy Nation armor stores. You can also find the item and Blueprint sold at most travel shops in-game. The Nomad Cape, much like the Wheatstraw Cape, is not meant as an armor, but rather straight weather protection. It goes in the belt slot and thus fills an extra purpose. So it does provide a solid 30% bonus against acid, rain, and dust storms. While many will feel this stacks too high with other armors, I say, hey, you know what? It's your playthrough. Balance-wise and aesthetically in Genesis, this will be common alongside Wanderers, Drifters, and Adventurers in the future. As of now, it's on the Nomad, but I actually need to swap the Wheatstraw Cape and hat and the Nomad Capes, and rewrite the descriptions for them. Personally, I do adore mods like this one. It rather fleshes out the world, even if it doesn't provide much for the player in terms of benefits and armor. This mod is actually pretty simple and universal. Throughout the background video, viewers should be able to see heavy weapons now with sheaths. Scroll back and jump around the video to see what I mean. Probably not worth looking, you can see them on the mod page. In comparison to vanilla, this mod is extremely simple and adds a model to the character's back when they have the following weapons: the Exile Plank, the Falling Sun, the Fragment Axe, the Naginata Katana, and the Plank. There isn't really much else to say there, but I think that many players will like this simple lightweight mod and its impact on the game and its overall appeal. Backpacks of a higher quality and higher carrying space than other bags seen in the world. The tech hunters probably print these out and upsell them, but damn, they're well worth the price. These bags, however, are meant for richer adventurers and travelers. The extra space, straps, and saddle bags tend to hold a weaker adventurer back. The Hi-Ker's bags, along with Elwo's backpacks expanded, present a high-quality, lovingly crafted bag sets to the world of Kenshi, spanning everything from scrap bags to those which exude wealth and success. The Hi-Ker's bag sets come in small, medium, and extra large, filling various gaps in the world of Kenshi. The bags, as they are in this mod, also come in 3 color variations: blue, red, and desert tan. Stats are shared between them. On the screen, you'll see a stat overlay as we're talking about the bags by size. First up, though it does say blue, this also applies to desert and red. We have a weight of 1 kilogram, a hard value of 7,500, and a sell value of 3,750. The encumbrance reduction is 50%, meaning everything will be 50% lighter. You can see 0.95 for combat speed, meaning you're 5% less faster wearing this. And then for stealth and dodge, you have a minus 15%. Again, even though this bag says blue, this also applies to red and desert as well. The medium Hiker's backpack is 2 kilograms, worth 15,000 and sells for 7,500. The encumbrance reduction is also 50%. It also applies a negative combat skills bonus, meaning you will be -3 weaker to all of your combat skills with this equip. Athletics effect is negligible. The combat speed effect is -10%. The stealth skill effect is -30%, as well as the dodge skill effect being -30%. Hiker's Backpack XL Desert. Again, this will apply to the blue and red variants. Its weight is 4 kilograms. It has a value of 23,000 and a sell value of 11,500. The encumbrance reduction is 60%, meaning that everything will weigh 60% less. It has a combat skills bonus of -6. It has a combat speed effect of -20%. It has a stealth skill effect of 0.45, which would be 55% less, and a dodge effect of -55%, meaning your skills will be reduced by 55% while wearing this. Now, please do bear in mind that these stats are completely different in Genesis, as well as the scale of the inventory and the bonus or malus of the stats. That's a whole nother video in of itself, so we'll keep this section short. Overall, these bags are high quality assets that many players will love in their original form or even as bespoke items throughout the world. It was long since time that more preventative measures were taken in the world. Factions together designed these measures, some slabs of metal refined, some with horns from bulls, others light and barely larger than an arm guard. Another saw the design and decided a different route. A hidden blade was added to theirs. Faction shields, like many of the mods today, have shirt variations. However, this one is through a secondary mod. Faction shields are held in 4 factions: the Thieves Guild, the Holy Nation, the United Cities, and of course, the Sheaths. Fitting of the world, no matter how they're worn, either by NPC or player, these items are meant to boost defensive and offensive stats as secondary clothing items in the belt slot, or in some case, a belt item depending on the combination of mods you have. The shields can be crafted straight through vanilla tech while researching plate armor crafting and leather armor crafting at level 3 and level 2 respectively. The leather bench hosting the Assassin's Wrist Blade and the other 3 shields being held under the plate bench. Players can also find shields in the following vendor locations: the Thieves Tower, the United Cities Armor Vendors, Holy Nation Armor Vendors, and the Tech Hunter/Sheath Armor Vendors in Sheath cities. The Assassin's Wrist Blade is spec'd for, well, assassination. That's what it's an Assassin's Wrist Blade. It has a 30% boost to assassination, a 20% boost to combat speed, and a 10% bonus to damage, dodge, and stealth. Again, remember, these stats are not reflective of what you will see in game. These are just the base FCS stats. The Acord shield has mostly malices, but little to no overt benefits other than more armor. Malices or negatives are as followed: assassination and range are 50% less effective, and dodge is 10% less effective. Following suit of the Acord shield, you have the Sheath Brute Plank. Slightly heavier with slightly more defenses than the others, you will have a couple malices here as well. 50% less effective are ranged and assassination. 10% less effective is combat speed due to its weight, and 20% less effective is the dodge multiplier. Lastly, we have the United Cities crest with the exact same malices as the Sheath shield, oddly enough. So again, a 50% multiplier to ranged and assassination as a negative, 10% less effective multiplier of combat speed, and 20% less to speed, or athletics. Likely a bug that it never got adjusted. Now, when it comes to Genesis, I don't intend to change these too much. In fact, I'd rather let people, decide what they want to play with. In fact, in a recent video I did on Genesis, update 2, I think it was, I talked about the secondary mod being added to expand the world of Genesis. That was 2% Nate's faction shields. It now looks like I'll be removing it whenever 1.0.64 Plus is stable and re-released. thus allowing these to spawn throughout the world on NPCs as belt items. If I can fill the belt slot instead, I'll do that and allow shirts to roll armor normally. Now, onto some honorable mentions from Acord. Is Winter Overhaul. This mod's goal was to remove loose-fitting armor, i.e. to delete some stuff, and it changes the acid rain particle to look like the ashlands particle, i.e. snow ash. All of the world is covered in a light white snow, and this snow is actually acidic. The mod as such makes acid protection relevant everywhere, with some areas being more quote-unquote cold or acidic than others. Simple in execution, but deep in purpose, it seemed like a fun mod, but ran into some problems with balance and damage. The general idea is that every weather effect was replaced with acid rain. All the acid rain and all the acidic ground was replaced with ash from the ashlands. His next mod was his single-player race mod, his first and his only. He ended up running into a bunch of issues with the rigging and was pressed for time while working on it, so it eventually had to be stopped. If I recall correctly, Acord's issues were that the heads weren't working how he wanted. He had these odd spikes and frills and hair bits that were supposed to grow and change with shape keys, but he couldn't add all the shape keys that he wanted, and I think a bunch of stuff like that. So there's also Path of Valhalla. This one he worked on for the longest. He ended up running into a bunch of issues when it came to performance. And then because of the foliage, he basically added foliage to all the green areas, so you had deep, lush forests and animals roaming everywhere. They were balanced differently based off of his animal overhaul. The world was more green and wild, and it just eventually became a resource hog. All of these are, of course, still playable, but likely have some odd bugs, so if you feel free to, go to his workshop and check out those mods. I would suggest running them by themselves and then slowly adding stuff on top. Vanilla Kenshi World States should work for all of his overhauls. Thank you everyone for watching. If you have any questions, leave them below. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. And if you want more content like this, or to follow Genesis progress, or even just watch some other content, feel free to subscribe. Also, if you like the mods in this video, don't forget to leave a like on that mod and leave words of encouragement to the authors. Music, as always, is by Karl Schmidt, a fantastic artist who does Kenshi, Warhammer, and other thematic music scores. If you like the background music throughout the video, go leave a like and sub to his content. The links to his music is in the description. Gilda.gg/Genesis. I am Atlas, and I am out.